Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Another week is upon us. We had a great opportunity to enjoy those kids from the Greenfield High School hockey team last year. This year we did that last week. And of course, now we have an opportunity to be able to sit and talk with the producer of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. And some people are going to say, why? Well, he had a chance to do something very special and was able to make something really important happen on Greenfield Community Television this winter. And we're going to talk to him about that in just a moment. Want to say thank you to our sponsor, and boy, what a wonderful woman she is. She's a great underwriter of local sports, and that is Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services. Located at 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, our local audiologist for almost 30 years, online at alberhearing.com. And by Denny's Pantry, right there on Berniston Road in Greenfield. They're now open. Make sure you stop in, open 7 days a week, where you can enjoy great breakfast and lunch. Philippe Simon, you, my friend, had a chance you really had to put together a production to be able to make sure that basketball for boys and girls at Greenfield High School was going to happen. And what you did was amazing. And I want to say, we want to go through the process that you had to go through so people understand how much work had to go into this for us to be able to pull this off for people to enjoy. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Bobby, thank you so much for letting me be on the show today. It's a pleasure to be on a show that I produced for so long and have seen many guests and have heard, and I've actually been on the show a few times, me and John Meisner, and it's been really wonderful. And I want to thank you for doing the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, to do and put on television the activities of children in our community is just fantastic. There's nowhere else where this exists. And so if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. As you know, with the COVID crisis and the pandemic, there were a lot of cancellations and there were a lot of new rules in terms of not only how you played, but who could actually observe and be in the gym or the sporting event that you have. Even outdoor events, parents were kept at a considerable distance. I remember when we did the field hockey game months ago. And so what we're dealing with here is a gym, and nobody can really be a spectator. And this was very disappointing to the parents who, with some of them, some of their children are in their senior year, junior and senior year, and they're not going to be able to see them for that much longer in terms of seeing them perform in high school sports. And so this was very important to a few of them, and to a lot actually, because once we started live streaming them, we noticed that we had anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people, sometimes for the bigger games, and the smaller games 400 to 500 people as well. And it was, really, really, really significant that we could actually offer something to people who were at home or just at a distance, unable to see their kids play, and could actually see it live. Some people love that live thing. And for those who didn't really care if it was live or not, but just wanted to see the game, we also rebroadcast those.
One of the things that I think people really appreciated was the fact that with the live stream, it was great for not only parents, but it was great for grandparents who always try to support their grandchildren. It's great for community members that were always in the stands rooting for these kids. And there was still a way for them to be able to still be a part of it. The only thing is they weren't able to cheer on those kids in a time where they probably could have used that extra boost in the gym. So really, it was a very different situation. And one thing I know that must have been difficult for you is the fact that you knew that there wasn't any way for you to put a camera on a bunch of crazy kids that were going nuts because their team was, winning by a point or maybe even down by a couple. You just sort of had to go with what the situation was in the gym.
Yeah, that's a remarkable thing too, because, nothing can replace a live audience and all the cheering. But the few students that were there who were part of the team, they did a considerable job applauding and cheering on their teammates, and even taking silence for when they had their penalty shots. Either way, they showed their support as much as they could. And a really huge dynamic to us doing this through GCTV is that we had a lot of help from the athletic department. Mike Kacheski, the athletic director, he did a lot of the groundwork for us in terms of making sure that the network facility people were aware of our needs, making sure that we had access to the gym, that the custodians who helped us a lot get moving equipment around and finding things that we needed, like just simple tables and chairs, were all there. And then on top of that, like the icing on a cake, we would have pretty much we had about 3 camera people, and they were all parents of kids who were playing. And so that was one way, is if the parent had the free time and could get out, because these games start at like 4 and then at 5:30, they'd have to get out of work early, or they'd have to have an earlier shift, or they just wouldn't work that day, and they would come down and they would film, and I would train them filming. And I think that that's significant because we were able to continue our relationship with people in the community, and even expand it by including parents into this process and into this production. So the way that I would do that is they would just basically walk by me. I had a table in the corner, a cordoned off area. I wore my mask. Everything was sterilized. About halfway through the bleachers, on the upper deck, would be the camera. I would have that set up, sterilized, a box of wipes, Steri-Wipes, extra batteries, and a headset. We have these remote headsets that can allow me to talk to someone at a considerable distance and give them direction. While they stood at a considerable distance from the camera, I was able to point out physically everything that they needed to know about how to operate the camera. But when it came to them being on the camera, I would have to go back to my booth and then direct them through the headsets. And that was really good because what you can do is, like, as they're filming, you can guide them along. And all 3 of them, Phil Syhowski, Sarah Hazelton, and Tiffany Ward, all 3 of them did magnificent work. And we were just so lucky to have parents that were just really concerned about making sure that their kids had a good experience, that they could see that good experience and contribute to it in some way. And with them feeling like that, how could GCTV take a neutral stance? We had to be involved. And so we're doing this again. And we're going to be doing this for the Spring 2 season, which is really interesting that we have a Spring 2 season. Do you know anything about that, Bobby?
I sure do. Matter of fact, I know that the Spring 2 season is going to be starting in another 2 weeks. We're going to have, we'll
Tomorrow,
have volleyball.
actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got, right, that's true. We got volleyball that's going to be happening. I know Greenfield has a team. I know that is definite for you. I know that there's also going to be boys and girls soccer, which is happening at GHS, and they have their football program, which is coached by the athletic director, Mike Kacheski. So those sports are definitely on. And if you look at the weather over the next couple of weeks, it looks like the weather is going to be very cooperative on being able to be in the favor for these kids to be able to play. So that's a really good sign for all these schools that will be part of this. Now, I will tell you that we only have 4 local football teams. That's it. We have Frontier. We have 5. We have Frontier. We have Greenfield, Franklin County Tech, Mahar, and Athol. So there's 5 of the locals in the bubble for football. And then, of course, all the schools will have their soccer programs, which are very popular. Turner's Falls has been a co-op with the Franklin County Tech School, so that will continue to be a partnership as well. And you also have the volleyball programs that'll be available for the kids to play too, including the powerhouse down there in South Deerfield, and that is, of course, the Frontier Lady Redhawks. So very exciting, very fortunate that we're able to make this happen, Philippe. A lot of these kids weren't sure back in the fall when they were told that they were going to give this a shot, that it was going to come to life. But guess what, buddy? It's came to life, and you get a chance to be able to do something that you'll never be able to have said you've done before. Literally recording football games in the month of March.
I'm so glad that you said that the weather's going to be cooperative, because I have that memory from, I think it was like 3 years ago, when we recorded the Big Turkey Day game, and it was
Oh,
about
with
20
the
degrees
snow
below.
game.
Yes, it was 20 degrees below zero. And I kept, and for us it was difficult because we have to stand there and man a camera. There's no running around. But I felt much worse for the players, like getting tackled and slammed on what would be like worse, more hard than like concrete, like as hard as the surface of Pluto or something. I mean,
It's
like you
true.
could just hear it.
Yeah, the cement bowl.
And that's another thing that we're going to have to figure out, because all of these things are, there's something different to figure out about. From the gym, it's a pretty easy bet with live streaming. There's internet ethernet access. With the soccer field, that's not so easy because there's only Wi-Fi access, and usually Wi-Fi is not the type of system that is really good for broadcasting a live video and audio. And we also have the football field, and like the baseball field, I hope that they have installed some Ethernet in there, because that will make it so much easier for us to live stream. When we can live stream the game, it goes so much further than just recording it and then keeping it for posterity. Granted that the high school athletes, the coaches, and the athletic directors look at those to determine who's been a part of the play that they were supposed to, if people were in the right position, how they can further advise the team through that kind of analysis. So we want to provide that for them so that they can do that kind of analysis, but we also want something that's entertaining and involving, and for the community.
The one thing that I have to say that's so special about what we've been able to do, and really your experiment, and that's exactly what it was for basketball, for everybody, was an experiment, and getting parents to do the great job that they did, and the participation of the schools to say, yes, we want the local access TV stations in these gyms so that we can get this out to people, was really a great way to be able to put community access television on the map. And for some of these towns who don't normally do what the FCAT and GCTV have done, and MCTV with carrying, football and things like that, this has really opened up an opportunity for now the particular access television stations to be able to hopefully get a little crew together to be able to do these games throughout the year for all seasons. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to be able to grow a new audience with a bunch of sports people.
Yes, and it's great that community television is doing this. And I think one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this is, well, first of all, sports is exciting to film. It's an exciting
Definitely.
thing to broadcast. It moves quite quickly, and a lot of people find it very enjoyable. It's a very popular thing. The thing that I think
The
is
one
our
thing,
advantage, what I
okay,
think is our advantage, Bobby, is the fact that we are educational. And I look at every single component of filming these games as another class, as another subject, as another piece of curriculum. And if you run down, there's quite a bit, because at some point we don't want the parents to be all that involved. We want students to be involved. There are lots of students studying video in high school these days, and here we're going to provide an opportunity for real television. Not only just real television, any television, but the most lucrative of all television, which is sportscasting, sports broadcasting. And if you look at it, you have your cameras, and you could have one, two, or three cameras. You could have a lot of cameras. Most professional networks have about 10 to 40 cameras. all different positions and places. And obviously on the announcers. You can have announcers, and that's something I wanted to talk about as well, because we were so gracious, we were so lucky to have Bobby C and Aaron Campbell come and do as many games as possible. The games they couldn't do, it was just the sound of the gym. And when that happens in the future, I'm going to start looking up some of these terms, and I'm going to at least be there to talk to you and to get you through the game if we don't have a real professional announcer. But announcing is something that Bobby and Aaron have done for a long, long time. We also had Jeff Terrell last year doing baseball. And this is a really good opportunity for you professionals to mentor some of the young folks. Um, you have announcers, camera people. Someone has to switch from camera to camera. Someone has to make sure we're streaming and recording. Someone, in the classroom, even during the week before the game, can put together the reels that open the show and end the show with the music and the graphics and the titling, as well as like underwriters and sponsors. And that's something we're looking for right now as well, because although we have been getting funded from the school to get a camera with an electronic scoreboard that automatically hooks up to the scoreboard, would mean that on days that GCTV can't show up, any student or any video teacher or athletic person can come in and film that game in the simple half-court method that we're doing, and then have the scoreboard on there, and that game will get recorded, and it can also be streamed. It's a very special camera that we're getting through the school, and that should be really interesting. But right now we have a pretty big TriCaster system with multiple cameras. We record on our Atomos Shogun, which is ProRes, and it gives me a much higher quality file than what you see live streamed. And so that anyone watching back for an analysis is going to get a really crisp picture. So there's so many components to that, and as well as maybe high school kids getting out into the community and soliciting some of these businesses for underwriting to support this. As well as I do, that the school would make a little bit of money on concessions and on ticket sales for these games, so the parents could watch affordably and have something to eat too. Nothing like pizza and baseball. And but now they don't have that, so we're thinking of what we can do. Have I put you to sleep yet, Bob?
No, but I always tell people that's very important. Is there's one word that's so important. You know what it's called? Being proactive. You have to be proactive in a way to be able to make things work. And you guys proved that you found a very proactive way to be able to make this happen this winter. Now, building that confidence that it can work, now you're going to go into part 2 of the winter season. And I know you personally probably feel pretty comfortable about it, knowing that that you're feeling comfortable, knowing that the word's been around the school that, hey, guess what? We were able to have parents do this. Well, parents, if you really want to be able to have your child's stuff live streamed on Greenfield Community Television, they're going to need camera people. They're just going to need people that are going to be able to volunteer.
And let me tell you, I don't even have to worry about that. Mike Kacheski is out there getting parents all the time. Whoever is on the team has a parent, and they're spare. Anybody have a spare parent?
That's great, but that's great.
And this is like, for me, it's really beautiful thing to see, because I'm just going to give myself more volume, because this is like a huge team we're building here. It's not like all on my shoulders, and it's not like I'm looking to get a trophy or anything for it. I want to build a really good team in Greenfield. You see this jacket? See how I
Greenfield Green Wave.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't even live in Greenfield. I did for about 3 or 4 years, but I wanted a different housing option, so I moved just out to the hills. And but my heart's here. I work here every day, and I'm here as Greenfield Community Television, representing Greenfield, doing things that Greenfield needs. making sure the kids in Greenfield can have their sports televised, and so that their parents can see them and their friends can see them. And the students, it's not just about having getting on TV for them. I remember one occasion where Sarah Hazelton was filming, and her daughter rebuked her, the famous Katie Hazelton, saying, "You should stop doing the close-up shots. We can't figure out if everybody's doing the play correctly and if they're where they're supposed to be if you do close-ups." So, you know, so we started really just like moving up and down the court, getting about a half of the court on the screen. And then, with my big graphics on the bottom, just keeping the ceiling out of the picture is the thing. But they're able to see the whole thing. And as the camera person progresses, they can zoom in a little bit, come out, pan around the way that they need to, and do that really smoothly. We try to teach them techniques that makes that easy and less painful.
I got to tell you a funny thing is, what else becomes part of this process of what you were able to do for these kids is, I know it was an 8-game season. So you had 4 boys games and 4 girls games. At least those 4 home girls games, Katie Hazelton could be able to sit down with her team and Coach Hickey and Coach Emerson, and they could go over film, as they call it. You see?
Exactly.
Because you guys were able to have it recorded.
Exactly.
So now Coach Hickey can point stuff out to the kids on how they can become better at improving in certain things that they saw during those games. And that is a really big part of how teams can grow in sports. That's why if you see some of the bigger schools in the cities, they always have a film crew there, because those coaches want to go over the film with one of those days of practice with those kids.
It's standard in the industry to film the game from the sidelines, for instance, where they can really see everything that's going on. So while they may watch the television broadcast or refer to it, they also have their own camera people recording stuff, so that they can see the plays,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what they
without
want to do.
without the logos and all the graphics on there, and that way they can get it up and they say, "Well, see, look at you weren't anywhere where you're supposed to be."
That's right. No, and that's
Or
exactly
you were
it.
all right there. I don't know why it didn't work out.
Well, why the coach is going, well, why did you let this person get behind you when you were supposed to
Right.
be in front of that person? And then they can explain what happened and how that person got burned and that person was able to get behind them. That's just some of the good things that the kids can learn from those coaches by having film. And you guys are providing another outlet for folks to be able to see that film of what's going on.
And what was really significant too is that not only were they able to see all their good and bad plays, but what I brought away from it was this, and I really believe this, is that no matter what the game was, no matter what the score was, Greenfield was the winner and the other team was the winner. These kids are out there playing sports in contact with one another in a pandemic. They have a lot of rules where the game gets stopped, and there are different things that the way the game is played to conform to that. We have to salute them for doing that, for being willing to conform to something that's not typical of their game. And I don't know if that interferes with their style of play or what, but it's something that they did because they did want to play, and they had to conform to the rules set by the states for their own safety. And they did so magnificently. And I just want to say it was a pleasure for me to be there, whether it's varsity, junior varsity, boys or girls, whether they win or lose, because every time they play really well and they try really hard. And it's just how you build character. And I see character out there being built every day. And I'm really proud to be part of that, because that's the most important thing to me. I'm not a big sports fan. I don't really watch much sports on television beyond what I need to do to notice how it's being filmed and announced and titled and things like that. But what I really enjoy is the fact that they can get out and be physically active right now. There's so many kids that cannot even get out and have lost their motivation. I've lost a lot of motivation for getting out and being physically active. So it's a hurdle to it's an obstacle to hurdle, and I salute them for that. And I'm really proud to be part of this team, this Greenfield sporting team.
Well, you are, and you're a big part of it in many ways. But the biggest thing that you're also the eyes by putting this together to give people at home a chance to watch these as well. You're the guy who's running the switcher. You're the one who's making sure that the right things are being shown on the television so that when people are sitting home and watching, they're going to be able to get a close up of what's going on. Yeah, you got camera people, but you're the switcher guy. And that is being the producer is a lot of work. And people don't realize what really goes on behind the scenes until they get put into that position. And right now, I don't think there's anybody who's quite ready to be the switcher yet. But for sure, great experience now to start is with getting these camera people in place.
And this is one place I really want to desperately go to, is to have somebody who's interested in doing the titling and switching so that I could say direct, so that I am not as actively doing stuff, so that I'm teaching others to do it, and then giving them the skills and creating Greenfield High School's very own crew, for their sporting games. And not, like I said before, that's great curriculum. If they can have a tape of stuff that they did like that, and then they go to broadcasting school, or then they go to a communications college, that tape is what's going to get them in the door and Channel 22 down in Springfield, or ABC 40, one of the more professional stations. It's what you can show them that you do. And here we have an opportunity that you can actually show them what you did.
You know what's even better? It's free training. Don't
Absolutely
cost
free.
Where are you going to be able to find an opportunity to find something that you think is going to be fun and be able to know that it's free for you to get trained? You know what I tell people is, for the announcing part, there's three things that you have to remember. There's three things. Number one, you got to know the game. That's very, very important when you're an announcer. Number two, when you're dealing with basketball, you got to know the kids' names, because when you're announcing, like Campbell over to Simone, Simone over to Meisner, Meisner back to Campbell. You got to know who these people are, so people that are watching can know who the person is. And then the third and most important thing is you got to bring excitement to it, because sounding dead and not excited is not the right way for you to be able to bring excitement into a broadcast, especially like you said earlier in this broadcast, when you have a fast moving, exciting game. When you got something that's fast, you need excitement.
Oh,
and when you don't
absolutely.
have fans, it's almost like you're the guy or you're the gal that has to make this happen. You're
Right.
it. So you're like the person in charge to make the excitement happen, because there is no student section. There is no mom and dad flipping out, going crazy. There's everyone sitting at home in their living room or on their computer to
Well, I
watch
wouldn't
this
say
happen.
that exactly. Some of my camera people were just so ecstatic to see the
Well, of
games.
course. Well, they're parents, dude. Hey,
And
how
what
many
I
times do you
did
think a
in that
parent?
case was I just adjusted the position of the shotgun mic that was just picking up the room sounds, and the squeaking of the sneakers, and the bouncing of the basketballs. And that way they could get a little excited.
Right.
And I
Well, let me
think
give you an example.
in training them too, and this is why it's so important to have an announcer. Because
Yeah.
when I train people, I usually try to keep them well entertained, and so that they have fun doing this. And there's always a joke or two, and that's common fare for the broadcasting world. And so, some of my camera people, which will remain nameless, uh, were heard laughing and cracking up over the television. And it wasn't so bad, because their friends really were convinced that they were having a good time. And that's what we
Right.
want to convey, is that if you come and work with us and learn with us, you're going to have a good time.
Yep.
I'm going to be
Well, I
cracking
remember.
jokes the whole time and trying to distract you and keep you from doing a good job. That's the way TV is. You wouldn't believe what
Well,
I went through in
You're the guy
broadcasting
that's been able
school.
to. You're the guy that's been able to get it done, dude, and you pulled that off this winter for sure. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge for this next part two?
Part two, we've got a soccer field that's like behind the school. I have to find out what I have for Ethernet. And if I don't have good Ethernet outside, I'm going to try to see if I can, um, get a huge long cable and go right from the cafeteria or something. That's the hugest challenge, really. I mean, the graphics, the titles, all that stuff takes me no time at all to whip up on Final Cut, for instance. That's what I'm using right now, Final Cut 10. Yes! And it's a great program. It's spoiling me. It's making me a...
Okay, okay, you techie.
And yeah, well, it's like I knew a good amount about broadcasting in terms of using my voice. That's what I went to school for. Since I've come here, I've learned all the technology of the older broadcast pick system, what we had in the TV studio. And we've been getting new equipment all along. So at this point, my job is to learn something every day, just about. And so I am becoming more and more of a techie thanks to our excellent executive director, Nick Ring, who's brought an incredible amount of years of knowledge and is very, very motivated. How should I say? Motivated, forceful, um,
You know,
threatening. He
you
is
know what I love
very
about Nick?
motivated to keep us learning new things. And
You
he
know what I
will.
love about Nick?
What do you
I'm going to
like?
tell you what I love about Nick, and I don't work with him every day like you do, but I'm going to tell you this: that guy cares, and so didn't Scott McPherson. Them two
Absolutely.
guys, they cared, and you know what? When you got executive directors that care, they want quality programming. How can you not respect that, Philippe? How can you not respect
I
that?
can only respect that. And with Scott, I was given the opportunity to be more like a news person and go out and create these stories and do narrating and and filmmaking and editing all together. And and to me, that's like one of my favorite things to do. And I've had some really good success. I had the story that we released with Brad's Place, working with the Franklin County Community Meals Program, and how they feed people and how he devotes his own time and things like that help to get more donations and help to make it a little bit easier for them to do that. And then I just had the ice sculptures were out, and I did a nice film piece interviewing the people who were the sculptors, and then doing a little montage. It was very difficult. I made a few mistakes in the editing, but it was the type of thing where it's just like I had to get out there in the afternoon, get the interviews, come out at dusk when the lights are coming on, and get the ice sculptures as they're being lit up in the different colors, and then get back and somehow get this out online by 6 o'clock for when people are coming home and they're having dinner, so they can see what's going on. And I want to thank the Positively Greenfield Facebook page, because every time I post a story like that, so many people are exposed to it and so many people react to it. And I felt like it's like the sports that they really miss and some of the outdoor activities that they really miss. We were able to bring that to them. We were able to like touch them here in their hearts somewhere inside, and to remember like and remember how nice it was to be able to stroll down and look at all these things, which you could still do, but a lot of people are still uncomfortable about coming out in public, and that's understandable. They're taking a long time to vaccinate us, in this country, that is. And it it made me feel as though not only we touched them somewhere, but we also gave them something that they might not have been able to participate in this year. And because it's like on Facebook, they can comment and respond and have conversations. So it's almost like they got to participate in this winter carnival again. And why not? The Greenfield Rec Department puts on some of the best activities with the Blues and Barbecue Fest, the Winter Carnival, and the Halloween. And we actually made it down to that Halloween drive-through haunted house, and except I trudged through in the mud with my camera. But we want to get things up for people to be able to experience them in Greenfield, not only while we're going through this, but in the long term and always.
Did you know that I was the co-founder of the Downtown Trick-or-Treating program?
I did not.
In 2001, let me tell you, give you a quick little thing on this. It's pretty neat. In 2001, when we had the terrorist attacks on 9/11, as you know, that's September 11th, and of course, Halloween is in October, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman that was running the rec department in Greenfield, and she gave us a call and said at WHAI that we are not going to be able to have a trick-or-treating program this year because it was always held at the Armory. And with the Armory being a federal building, it got closed, Philippe.
Yeah.
So I looked at Dan Gwynn, the general manager of HAI at the time. I said, you know what? We need to do this program. Why don't I do the music? We get Cindy Urho, who was the director then. We get her to talk to the downtown merchants to do a safe trick-or-treating program, and we'll have music. We'll have the kids going to all the business owners to get their candy, so it's safe. No problems with having to check candy. And the radio station will promote it. And then we got in touch with Greenfield Community Television to be able to come and do all the judging of the costume like you guys still do. You guys still record all that. We got George Gould to do It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which still goes on every year. That now the masses will hopefully be able to take that over at their theater. And we started this program. And right now, this year will be the 20th anniversary of the downtown trick-or-treating program in Greenfield. So
And
there you have it.
And that's remarkable. I remember you out there in the DJ booth way back when. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I did it for 15 of the years. The last 5 I haven't done it. But yep. A lot of fun, brother.
It really is. It really is. And I think we're pretty lucky to live in a little city. It is a very little city, as cities come.
It is.
And yet they still manage to do these activities for people, you know, to get outside and to be in a safe way of trick-or-treating, you know. So I've always
the other thing that we
that.
have to remember is guys like you that were able to get that camera down there and make sure that it was on TV made a lot of kids happy, because you know why? A lot of those kids were able to see themselves walking right in front of the camera when we had that big group walkthrough, you know, and you could see the kids and be able to see them all dancing. And we'd have, when I know that while they were doing the judging and they had to have a few minutes, we'd crank up the tunes on the common, and the kids would all do all those little dances, you know, like the chicken dance and all those fun things that we did as kids. You know, it was great, Philippe.
And now it's down at the Energy Park every year. And I don't know, you think I'm doing this for the kids. I participated in that, in filming and broadcasting it, because I want to see everybody's crazy costumes. And I want to get some of the candy too, because GCTV fills up buckets full of candy that we bring down there. And it's the only way that I'm going to have time to get enough candy, because I'm working during all the trick-or-treating, is if I go down there and get some candy. So give me some candy.
By the way, you didn't give me any candy at any of those games this winter. None. And by the way, right now...
It's okay, Bobby. We will renegotiate that contract.
It's not happening. I need a new hip. Remember, we already talked about that, brother. There's no candy right now for me. But I just want to say one thing. You've done an amazing job. You do a lot of
Thank
good
you.
things for this community. And I want to tell folks that it's not just about producing my show. Philippe spends a lot of time with the town council. Philippe spends a lot of time with the school committee. Philippe spends times for certain important meetings that have to be covered within the mayor's office that are very important, or if there's a big announcement that's being made by the mayor's office, who's the guy who brings the camera down to get it done? This guy and the crew of Greenfield Community Television.
Yeah, well,
So
I'm the
they need to
production
know that. They need to know that.
I'm the production coordinator, and I get my technical advice from our director and assistance from him. Ian Hamilton, who's an amazing filmmaker and does the
He
Lights
is.
Camera
He's
Greenfield.
great.
He's doing all the programming. He's pulled in shows from all around in the absence of producers doing stuff, and he's setting all the scheduling, and like he's the guy I talk to when I say we're going to live stream at 4 o'clock with Bobby, or the game's going to be going on at 2. And he'll get that set up for us. So it's a team here and a team out there. And I can't ever I feel so supported by the athletic department, by the high school, and by the GCTV. And in addition to this, and this is the fun stuff that I do, we have the school committee that meets definitely more than once a month. And right now, with school closing, teachers coming up for vaccination in April, and things like that, these are big issues. So, like Wednesday, I've got 2 games. So here's where the teamwork comes in. I set up the program for broadcasting, and Nick is going to broadcast the city council while I'm still finishing up with the 2 volleyball games that I have Wednesday. Tonight, I'll be broadcasting the Ways and Means Committee, and then Thursday, the school committee will be back for another special meeting. So it's like they go beyond like what their regular scheduled stuff is, and that's fine with us because we're more than happy to bring this kind of information out to the public. That's why we exist. We exist to create a better democracy and a good democracy already, to create better communication between the citizens and the government, to create through that to create a better understanding on the part of the government about what people really want and need, despite what issues pop up from time to time. So I feel like we're a very constructive part of the town, and I look forward to our position and our the things that we provide as being looked to as even more and more necessary as time goes on. Um, there are so many meetings now that are being recorded because they're being held on WebEx, which is a larger governmental form of Zoom. And so they can have a lot of participants calling in, and a lot of people can join the meeting. And so not having to physically go somewhere because of our staffing constraints and our budget constraints, we can only go so many places per week. We can actually get those meetings, slap a nice lower third on it, some titles at the beginning and the end, and you've got yet another group meeting available online at gctv.org and available on our YouTube page and airing on television for all to see. And so I'm urging every group to make sure that you're recording and that you're sending us those recordings.
Great opportunity, folks, for you to take advantage of community access television. And I'll tell you what, we just sort of gave you a inside look of what it takes to make it work and the people that it takes to make it work. And you've already seen what the product looks like because you've had a chance to see these games. So you know that the quality is very good. And the other thing is too, folks, and I'm going to be straight up with you, underwriting is a great opportunity for people to support the kids. And let's be honest, there's a lot of hits that have been able to get with these games. And the sports community would love to be able to see what your message is to be able to support you as a local business owner in our community. And during a pandemic where everyone struggled, this could be a good time for you to be able to get out your name during a time when you've been sort of limited with hours or even shut down, to let people know you're back at it and that you are supporting the local community access television station. It's a win-win. You're going to win. The kids are going to win because they're getting supported. And of course, our local access television station is also going to win because the money that can be raised is only going to better the quality because of the good equipment that will be provided by a guy like Philippe Simon.
Yeah, and that's where our underwriting goes. It goes right back into equipment. It doesn't go into anybody's salary or anything like that. Even though that's another issue.
No, well,
That's
and we
also
can
a
talk about
quality
that.
issue too.
We could talk about salary in every person's life, brother. But at the end of the day, we have to look at what's most important for these kids. And you have a product that is working. And I'm excited to see what the production's going to look like, being able to see a little bit of snow in the background as you're running a soccer game or a football game, where we already know that we had more snow 2 years ago in that crazy storm on that Thanksgiving Eve back at GHS, when it was probably one of the best Turkey Day games of all time between Turner's and Greenfield. That was an amazing game too, by the way, with that snowball. That was an amazing game, but it was cold. And I know you
Oh
were
yes.
downright freezing, buddy, you know?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, and what we're trying to do is to find more of the type of equipment that is used in colleges and universities, and especially when it comes to like getting the scoreboard on the screen. We have stuff that we can graphically do, and then I have to type in the score. So if it's one of those like crazy games where they're scoring constantly, I'm just sitting there changing the score, and it's like I could be doing so many other things to improve the broadcast quality. And so, that there's types of equipment like that. Those are computer programs. And because they're in demand right now, because nobody because of the COVID situation, they boosted their prices a little bit. And I was a little surprised because it seems like a lot of people are trying to do their part to make it easy for the rest of us. Well, some people aren't.
I know. So let me ask you a question before we start winding down our program here. Um, what do you feel is the biggest importance to be able to keep this going throughout at least this school year, in the beginning of the fall, for the beginning as we start transitioning into next winter, when we start a brand new flu season, and who knows where everyone's being vaccinated and how things are going as we improve? What are you looking for people to be able to join your team? Let's do a quick recruitment type talk about what you would like and how we can get more people involved, Philippe.
I would like more camera people, obviously, and I would like people to just come and say, I want to learn how to do this. I volunteer, and what do you need me to do? And then I can tell them to do different things. There's a lot of people that want to just stand behind the camera, and that's fine. But I also need people to run the switching board, to do graphics and titling, and to do those reels and those for the sponsors and the intro and the outro stuff, on an editing machine in class, pretty much. I need this to be taken more as a curriculum. And so we need everybody. And we also need announcers. We need more student announcers to be mentored by Bobby and Aaron. And I don't think that you guys are going to even be able to do every single game.
No, matter of fact, it's crazy right now because I don't know what we're going to be able to do. And the problem is right now is that I got to admit, I'm getting into hopefully getting back to doing what I do for work with running my business, So I don't even know where I'm even standing right now. It's just a crazy time. But I'm going to say one thing, and this is what I want to tell people. I started as an announcer by joining an Explorers Club at a radio station years ago on Federal Street in Greenfield. Now, you the grandparents would all know this. There was a station in town years ago called WPOE 1520. And there was a wonderful group of men in that building who was willing to start an explorers club. And they did it with high school students. And I was lucky enough to be able to learn how to be in broadcasting through this explorers club at a local radio station. And that was free training for me to learn. And I think that what we probably need to do, Philippe, is with access to a local radio station through 107.9, through Greenfield Community Television, and the studio that's available for all the learning that can be done within the studio that you guys have. What a great opportunity for people to be able to come. And hopefully you will be able to maybe start an Explorers Club when the kids go back to school for the new school year in 2021, 2022, starting in the fall, because everyone will be mostly vaccinated by then.
I think that's a
And
great
I want to be
idea.
a part of the team. I want to be a part of the team.
You're on, buddy. You are on.
I do.
And I think that's a great idea.
I think that this is going to be able to bring more people to the studio to learn. But you know what else is the best part of this whole thing? Their experience could take them, like you just said, to Channel 40, Channel 22. One of those, what we call small market stepping stones to be able to get to bigger and better.
You know, period. I moved to New York City right after I graduated from broadcasting school, but the pay structure was so low that I wound up taking a job with a Japanese company that saw my English speaking skills and broadcasting skills and decided to reward those with a sales type of job and at a very high income. So even though you may start learning broadcasting, you will find lots of opportunities for anyone that can speak and write and read and understand, like someone that, say, has a bachelor's degree in English. You can do just about anything, any kind of a job. And so there are lots of broadcasting schools that will give you like that quick practice, that daily over and over and over. They'll wash your accent out. They'll make you speak, normally and in a way that everybody in the country can understand you and not regionally. They'll teach you how to enunciate and how to get those words out really well and how to get some speed to it too. And so, that's a skill that is not only good for broadcasting, but also good for sales, teaching, and all kinds of other activities. I almost wish that there were some, I wouldn't say teachers, because teachers seem to learn this very easily and naturally, but there are a lot of people in different businesses that I would love to take into a broadcasting session of public speaking just to get them to, to enhance their own job in that own field. But, television, cameras, graphics, titles, announcing, script writing, editing, animation, all of that goes into this. And those are all the things that you can learn as a student. And we welcome you. And when we are open, we will be bringing people back into the TV studio. We will be bringing people back into the radio production studio for Western Mass Community Broadcasting, WMCB, as you mentioned, 107.9. And the people who normally produce shows who have been either doing it at home or on hold will also be very excited to come here and work with a new crew of people. So, get in touch with us. 774-4288, that's our number, but we're right across the street from the public library. And there are many times when people knock on our windows and say hello. I urge you to do the same. And I urge you to give us a call and say, hey, I'm interested in learning. I want to work with the sports broadcasting, or I just want to learn something. Give us a call.
There you have it, folks, from the horse's mouth over there at good old Main Street in Greenfield. Philippe Simon, I tell you, he's been a huge savior for me. I have a lot of respect for this man. I have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do for our community. And him and I have built up a pretty great friendship, and we both can trust each other, and we know that we have each other's back. And that right there in itself makes it a lot easier for working conditions for both of us. And it's been a wonderful journey. And I think we have many more years to hopefully enjoy being able to work together to do it for the best of our community. And that's exactly what we both do.
I hope so, Bobby. I hope that we work together for a great number of years. And I hope that when you retire, that we're both healthy enough so that we can go down to the fire station and play checkers with Chief Bob.
All right. That sounds good. You know why? Because I want to king him and you.
Flying Kings.
Hey, listen, thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything. And thank you for everything, bud. This was great. And what this was a great educational piece of what people got to see as an insight of what is happening at Greenfield Community Television and how much work goes in to producing a product like what you had to do with basketball. And let's add in this too, and hockey, because you were also a part of that as well. And I know because I saw you with a camera on TV doing a couple of those hockey games over at the Collins Mullen Arena.
So I did one.
Oh, I saw you that game.
And we were not, and we want to do more. We want to do more of that, but we're still
great.
Catching up to this whole thing.
Yeah, great work.
Salutes out to FCAT and Kevin and Chris and those guys because they do a great job. And it's so great to come in and work with them and then do our own thing too.
Well, let's be honest. We're all working together for the common good, and that is for the folks of Franklin County. And that's why this show is called the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. It's representing our kids that are representing the schools in Franklin County. Perfect. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Bobby.
And we'll see you next week. Matter of fact, next week, our special show is with a guy that we both love. Joe Gamache. He is the football coach and athletic director of the Franklin County Tech School. He's going to give us all the details about this upcoming football season that will be happening next week. Until we meet again, I will talk to you then. For Philippe Simon, and I can say this, my guest and my producer of my show, for Nick Ring and the fine staff, my friend Ian, all there at Greenfield Community Television, I'm Bobby C., and thank you for being a part of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report.